Drama is often seen as something negative, a whirlwind of conflict and emotional chaos that drains our energy and peace of mind. Yet, for many people, there's something strangely captivating about it. Even when we claim to dislike drama, we sometimes find ourselves drawn into it again and again. The truth is that behind this attraction lies a powerful biological mechanism, the human brain's craving for stimulation. When life feels too calm, the mind starts searching for something to break the monotony, and emotional intensity becomes the easiest substitute. That's when drama becomes not just an experience but a hidden source of excitement. When a dramatic situation unfolds, an argument, a crisis, or even gossip, the body reacts instantly. The heart beats faster, adrenaline surges, and the senses sharpen. This reaction, known as the fight or flight response, evolved to help humans survive real danger. But in modern life, it gets triggered not by physical threats, but by emotional ones. The body doesn't know the difference between an argument with a loved one and an encounter with a predator. It just knows that something intense is happening, that intensity feels alive, and the brain interprets it as stimulation. Over time, the brain starts linking emotional chaos with vitality, creating an unconscious pull toward drama. This process is reinforced by the brain's reward system. When we experience strong emotions, even negative ones, the brain releases neurotransmitters that make us feel alert and engaged. This creates a temporary high, a rush that feels like importance or purpose. For someone who has experienced long periods of boredom, loneliness, or emotional numbness, that rush can become addictive. Drama then becomes a coping mechanism, a way to escape inner emptiness or lack of excitement. It provides an illusion of control and meaning, even though it often leads to distress. What makes this addiction more deceptive is that it hides behind common human behaviors. We might call it passion, caring, or involvement, when in reality, it's the brain chasing stimulation. Some people find themselves drawn to others who constantly create conflict, while others unconsciously stir up tension themselves. Even watching dramatic situations unfold in others' lives through social media, reality TV, or gossip can trigger the same chemical response. The brain rewards the engagement, keeping us emotionally invested even when it harms our peace. The craving for chaos becomes stronger each time it's satisfied. The brain learns that stress equals stimulation and calm equals boredom. Eventually, tranquility feels wrong, almost suffocating. This is why people often say things like, "I hate drama, but it always finds me." In truth, the brain has been conditioned to find it. It's not that chaos magically appears, it's that the subconscious mind attracts or creates it to satisfy a neurological need for excitement. This cycle can continue for years unless it's recognized and interrupted. Understanding that this is a biological process, not a moral failing, is vital. It's not about weakness or immaturity, but chemistry and conditioning. When you realize your brain is simply seeking stimulation, you can start to observe your reactions instead of being ruled by them. You can notice when you're drawn into a conflict and ask yourself whether it's truly necessary or just your mind searching for its next emotional hit. This awareness begins to weaken the power of the cycle. The hidden thrill of chaos reveals how complex and adaptable the human brain is. It seeks stimulation as a sign of life, yet sometimes chooses the wrong kind. The same mechanism that once helped us survive danger now entangles us in emotional storms that serve no purpose. By bringing this process to light, we can begin to separate genuine emotional engagement from addictive drama and move closer to the calm, steady energy that real strength comes from the human brain, is a master of survival designed to detect threats and respond with lightning speed. Yet in the modern world, where physical danger is rare, that same ancient system reacts to emotional tension as if it were life or death. When someone criticizes you, when a message goes unanswered, when a disagreement escalates, your brain releases the same chemicals it would if you were being chased by something dangerous. Adrenaline surges, cortisol floods your system, and suddenly you feel wide awake, hyper, focused, and alive. This is the moment when stress becomes stimulation, and the line between danger and excitement begins to blur. What makes this process fascinating is that the brain doesn't really care whether the trigger is positive or negative. It only registers intensity. Whether you're thrilled by good news or furious about a disagreement, the body's chemical reaction is remarkably similar. The mind learns to crave that feeling of intensity, mistaking it for energy, purpose, and meaning. Over time, this can create a pattern where calm feels empty and conflict feels alive. People begin to unconsciously seek out stressful situations or emotional upheavals simply because the brain has linked that state with stimulation. This is why drama can be so seductive. When emotions run high, everything feels heightened, colors seem brighter, time feels slower, and the world feels more vivid. The rush of chemicals provides a temporary sense of significance, like you're in the center of a story that matters. But the problem is that this stimulation is unsustainable. The body isn't meant to stay in a state of constant arousal. After the rush fades, exhaustion sets in, followed by irritability or sadness. Yet the mind, addicted to the high, starts searching for the next emotional spark, the next reason to feel alive again. The confusion between stress and stimulation can be subtle. It can show up in relationships where people confuse intensity with intimacy, believing that fighting passionately means loving deeply. It can appear in work environments where constant urgency and crisis are mistaken for productivity. It can even appear internally, when the mind creates imaginary problems to maintain a sense of engagement. In each case, the brain's chemical reaction reinforces the pattern, teaching you that without stress, something must be wrong. This is how the addiction to drama slowly builds, not out of desire for pain, but out of a neurological misunderstanding. When calm situations arise, they don't trigger those familiar stress hormones. The absence of chemical stimulation feels strange, almost uncomfortable. You might interpret that discomfort as boredom or unease, not realizing that it's simply your body missing its usual rush. This withdrawal can cause people to stir conflict where none exists, to overanalyze small issues, or to dive into other people's problems for the sake of feeling emotionally charged again. The brain, wired for survival, is now tricked into believing that peace equals danger because it feels unfamiliar. Breaking this pattern requires understanding what's happening beneath the surface. You can begin by observing how your body reacts to tension. Notice the quickened heartbeat, the tight chest, the racing thoughts. Recognize that these sensations are not necessarily signs of importance, but signs of overstimulation. The more you notice, the more distance you create between your awareness and the automatic reaction. Over time, with conscious effort, your brain can relearn what safety and calm truly feel like. The confusion between stress and stimulation is one of the most common traps of the modern emotional world. It keeps people trapped in cycles of intensity that wear down their mental health and relationships. But by seeing the pattern clearly, By realizing that the brain's chemistry is confusing survival for excitement, you can begin to step outside of it. The goal isn't to eliminate all emotion or intensity, but to experience them consciously rather than compulsively, allowing your mind to find energy not in chaos, but in clarity. Calm is something most people say they want, yet when they finally experience it, many find it strangely uncomfortable. After long exposure to emotional chaos, constant stress, or unpredictable relationships, stillness can feel unnatural. The human nervous system adapts to whatever it experiences repeatedly. If your life has been filled with conflict, tension, or emotional highs and lows, your body learns to function in that heightened state. It becomes your new normal. When things finally settle down, your brain no longer feels stimulated, and the quiet begins to feel unsettling. You might even start to look for reasons to worry, argue, or create movement, not because you want to suffer, but because calm feels like something is missing. This discomfort is not a sign of weakness, but of conditioning. The brain becomes wired to associate stimulation with safety and boredom with threat. It has learned that chaos equals energy and energy equals life. When peace arrives, there's no surge of adrenaline, no burst of cortisol, no familiar rush. Instead, the body experiences stillness as withdrawal, much like someone who has stepped away from an addictive substance. You may feel restless, distracted, or irritable, not realizing your nervous system is adjusting to a state it no longer recognizes. When calm feels uncomfortable, the mind begins to play tricks. You might overthink minor issues, replay past arguments, or imagine future problems just to reintroduce emotional intensity. This behavior is the brain's way of restoring what it perceives as balance. It's not that you consciously want more drama. It's that your subconscious has mistaken chaos for safety. This pattern explains why some people seem to attract or create conflict wherever they go. They aren't doing it on purpose. Their body is simply chasing the chemical high of stress hormones that once kept them alert and engaged. In relationships, this can manifest as a craving for intensity. You might feel drawn to people who bring excitement but also turbulence, mistaking emotional highs and lows for deep connection. A relationship that is calm and steady can seem dull in comparison, even though it's healthy. In work or personal life, you may feel uneasy when everything goes smoothly, leading you to take on unnecessary pressure or create new challenges. These habits keep the brain stimulated, but they also keep you stuck in cycles of exhaustion and dissatisfaction. The path out of this pattern begins with awareness. The next time you feel uneasy in a peaceful moment, pause and ask yourself why. Notice the physical sensations. Maybe your heart rate increases or your thoughts start racing. Instead of acting on those feelings, simply observe them. What you're feeling is not danger, but discomfort from stepping outside a familiar chemical state. Each time you resist the urge to create unnecessary tension, you teach your brain that calm is not a threat. You start to rewire your nervous system to find safety in stillness instead of chaos. This process takes time and patience. The brain doesn't change overnight, but with consistent practice, calm becomes easier to tolerate and eventually something you crave. Activities like deep breathing, mindfulness, spending time in nature, or engaging in creative work help retrain your body to associate peace with pleasure rather than boredom. As your stress levels stabilize, you begin to notice the richness of quiet moments, the clarity of thought, the ease of breathing, and the gentle satisfaction that comes from stillness. When calm stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like strength, everything in life shifts. The mind no longer needs to chase intensity to feel alive. Relationships become more stable, decisions more grounded, and emotions more balanced. The absence of chaos no longer feels like a void, but like freedom. This transformation doesn't happen by escaping discomfort, but by sitting with it until peace becomes your new normal. Living in constant drama may seem like a way to stay emotionally engaged, but it comes with an invisible cost that affects both the mind and body. When people become addicted to emotional intensity, their nervous system remains in a state of high alert, always ready to react. This prolonged activation of the stress response system gradually wears down the body's ability to recover. Cortisol levels stay elevated, sleep becomes restless, and mental fatigue sets in. Over time, what once felt like excitement begins to feel like exhaustion. The same chemistry that once gave a sense of aliveness starts to drain energy and clarity. The emotional toll is just as severe. Constant conflict and emotional turbulence distort perception and decision making. When the brain is flooded with stress hormones, it becomes harder to think rationally, listen empathetically, or choose calm responses. Reactions become impulsive and defensive, feeding the very chaos one tries to escape. Relationships start to suffer as communication turns into confrontation. Minor disagreements can quickly spiral into emotional battles, leaving both sides drained and misunderstood. This instability breeds mistrust, resentment, and emotional distance. Drama addiction also damages self-connection. When every moment is filled with noise, there's no space for reflection or inner peace. The constant search for intensity becomes a distraction from deeper feelings such as fear, sadness, or loneliness. Many people use drama as a way to avoid sitting with their true emotions. The brain convinces them that conflict is easier to handle than silence. But this avoidance traps them in cycles of emotional volatility. Instead of healing, they keep reliving the same patterns in different forms, mistaking intensity for meaning. The physical symptoms of drama addiction often mirror those of chronic stress. The immune system weakens, leading to frequent illness or fatigue. The digestive system suffers, appetite changes, and tension builds in the muscles. Sleep becomes irregular, and rest never feels restorative. The mind may stay busy long after the body wants to rest, replaying arguments, worrying about what might happen next, or crafting imaginary scenarios. These patterns create emotional burnout, where the brain's constant overstimulation results in emotional numbness. Ironically, the person who once chased drama to feel alive ends up feeling empty inside. Another heavy price is the loss of peace in relationships. When the brain equates love with intensity, calm relationships may be dismissed as unexciting. This mindset attracts partners who thrive on chaos or pushes away those who offer stability. The pattern becomes self-reinforcing. Each dramatic interaction produces a rush that temporarily feels like connection, followed by guilt, confusion, or regret. This cycle repeats until it becomes the norm. Over time, the emotional cost becomes clearer. Happiness turns into dependency, trust turns into tension, and affection turns into fear of abandonment. Breaking free from this cycle requires understanding that drama is not the same as depth. Real connection doesn't need constant conflict to feel meaningful. Emotional peace isn't emptiness, it's the foundation for genuine joy. Learning to value calmness requires unlearning the belief that excitement equals fulfillment. It takes courage to stop reacting automatically and to allow silence to exist without filling it with chaos. Each time you choose to stay calm instead of engaging in unnecessary conflict, you reclaim a piece of your energy. The emotional cost of drama addiction can be reversed with self-awareness and gentle consistency. When the body begins to experience calm without immediately craving stimulation, healing begins. The mind grows clearer and relationships become less reactive. You begin to recognize peace not as a lack of excitement, but as a sign of emotional maturity. The true price of drama is not just stress, it's the time, energy, and love it steals. Recovering from it means choosing stability over chaos, clarity over confusion, and authenticity over adrenaline. Rewiring the brain for calm and balance begins with understanding that the nervous system can unlearn chaos just as it once learned to crave it. The human brain is remarkably adaptable. It constantly reshapes itself through repeated experiences. When stress and conflict dominate your daily life, the brain builds neural pathways that prioritize reactivity and tension. But when you begin to practice calmness intentionally, those same pathways can weaken, and new ones form that favor peace and emotional regulation. It's not about forcing stillness. It's about retraining your mind and body to recognize calm as safe, natural, and even rewarding. The first step in this process is awareness. Most people react to emotional triggers automatically without realizing their brain is running a well-practiced pattern. By pausing before responding, you create space for conscious choice. In that brief pause, you tell your brain that not every moment requires a fight or flight response. Over time, these small pauses accumulate, slowly weakening the brain's association between stress and stimulation. Practices such as mindfulness and deep breathing work precisely because they interrupt this automatic loop. When you breathe deeply, the body signals to the brain that you are not in danger, lowering cortisol levels and helping the nervous system settle into balance. Stillness, however, may not feel natural at first. For someone used to emotional intensity, peace can seem strange or even uncomfortable. It's important to remember that this discomfort doesn't mean calm is wrong. It means your brain is adjusting. Like any muscle learning a new movement, the nervous system needs consistent repetition to build strength. The more you expose yourself to calm environments and choose non-reactive responses, the more familiar they become. Over time, your brain begins to prefer the stability of peace over the exhaustion of chaos. Another key to rewiring the brain for calm is developing emotional awareness. Many people trapped in cycles of drama are disconnected from what they truly feel. They confuse intensity with connection or mistake reactivity for passion. By learning to identify and name your emotions, you reduce their power. Writing down what you feel, speaking it calmly, or reflecting on it silently allows your rational mind to engage. This shifts activity from the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, to the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for reasoning and self-control. This neurological shift helps transform impulsive reactions into thoughtful responses, reinforcing the experience of calm. Physical practices also play a vital role in retraining the nervous system. Exercise, meditation, yoga, or even spending time in nature releases endorphins that counteract the effects of stress hormones. These activities help the brain experience pleasure without chaos. Over time, the body learns that calm states can be as rewarding as dramatic ones. Even simple daily rituals such as mindful walking, slow breathing, or gratitude reflection can create profound changes in how the brain processes emotions. The key is consistency. The brain changes through repetition, not intensity. Relationships provide another powerful arena for rewiring calm. Choosing to respond with patience instead of reaction teaches your brain that peace leads to safety and connection. Each time you resist the urge to argue or escalate tension, you strengthen neural circuits linked to empathy, trust, and regulation. This doesn't mean suppressing feelings, but expressing them from a centered place. Calm communication reprograms not only your brain, but also influences others around you, creating a cycle of mutual stability. The process of rewiring the brain for calm is gradual but deeply transformative. As your nervous system learns to rest, your thoughts become clearer, your body lighter, and your emotions more balanced. The world no longer feels like a battlefield demanding constant defense. Instead, life begins to unfold with steadiness and grace. Peace becomes not the absence of intensity, but a new kind of energy, one that grounds, restores, and strengthens from within. Feeling alive is something everyone desires, but the way we define it often determines the quality of our inner world. For many, aliveness has become synonymous with intensity, loud emotions, high stakes, constant movement, and endless stimulation. When life is quiet, it can feel empty, as though something essential is missing. Yet the truth is that real vitality doesn't come from chaos or constant excitement. It comes from a deeper state of awareness, where peace, clarity, and authenticity replace the need for adrenaline and drama. Redefining what it means to feel alive is about learning to separate emotional turbulence from true emotional depth. When the brain becomes addicted to drama, it mistakes chaos for energy. Every argument, crisis, or emotional spike creates a rush that feels meaningful, as if life suddenly has color and urgency. But this rush is temporary and artificial. It burns fast and leaves exhaustion behind. Over time, the constant search for excitement numbs real joy, because it trains the nervous system to depend on conflict for stimulation. This dependence blinds people to the subtler forms of aliveness that exist in calm, the quiet joy of understanding, the satisfaction of inner balance, the serenity that comes from emotional control. To truly redefine aliveness, one must first unlearn the belief that peace equals boredom. Calm is not a void, it's a presence, a steady rhythm beneath the noise of life. It's the ability to sit in silence and still feel connected, to experience joy that doesn't need to shout to be real. When you begin to find beauty in moments of stillness, you start to realize that life has always been vibrant, even in its quietest forms. The warmth of a morning breeze, the sound of laughter, the pause before a conversation, these are all expressions of life's fullness that drama often drowns out. This shift requires reconditioning the brain to interpret calm as safety rather than emptiness. The more you embrace peaceful moments, the more your mind learns that stillness can be stimulating in its own way. You begin to experience energy not as chaos but as flow, the natural movement of thoughts and emotions without resistance. In this state, aliveness becomes sustainable. You no longer need conflict or crisis to feel awake. Instead, you draw vitality from clarity, purpose, and connection to what truly matters. Authenticity plays a central role in this transformation. When people rely on drama to feel alive, they often lose touch with their genuine emotions. They act out exaggerated versions of themselves to maintain intensity. But when you let go of the need for performance and return to authenticity, life feels richer and more grounded. You begin to respond to situations rather than react to them. Your emotions become more stable, your decisions more thoughtful, and your relationships more sincere. Real aliveness is not about intensity. It's about integrity, living in alignment with who you truly are. This redefinition also changes how you experience relationships. When drama no longer fuels your sense of connection, you start to appreciate stability and mutual respect. Love feels deeper when it's calm because it's not built on fear of loss or the thrill of conflict, but on trust and presence. The quiet comfort of being understood becomes more fulfilling than the excitement of emotional roller coasters. This kind of love doesn't exhaust, it nourishes. Redefining aliveness ultimately means embracing a new rhythm of being. It's realizing that you don't need chaos to feel passion or pain to feel purpose. You discover that joy can be gentle, confidence can be quiet, and growth can happen in peace. Life doesn't need to be loud to be meaningful. When you stop mistaking noise for energy, you uncover a deeper vitality that exists in every moment, a steady, unshakable sense of being fully alive even in stillness.